is how to biohack and enhance your cognitive ability and sensory functions. You see, our brains are actually focused on what's around us and doesn't think too much about self-improvement. So it is essentially up to us to hack our brain such in a way that it would be able to adapt, optimize, grow, and evolve, which can actually improve sensory functions. There are some neurofeedback devices which exist, and I think even some smart watches may have something called EEG, which is basically a way to be able to read your brainwaves and actually help train it to be able to regulate mood and mental states. So it keeps you in a very calm state. So you can look into something like that. There are also some nerve hacks you can do, and one of the most significant nerves in our bodies is the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is a nerve that runs from your brain through the neck to the gut, and it controls specific bodily functions such as the digestion, heart rate, and immune system. It is essentially your fight or flight response, and there are activities that can be done, such as the cold exposure, or known as cold thermogenesis, and has been found to decrease your fight or flight sympathetic pathways. Usually, this is at the temperature of 15 degrees Celsius, so cold showers and having your room at room temperature when you're sleeping is ideal. Also, another thing that can be done is also deep and slow breathing, which involves your abdomen to expand like a balloon when you're breathing and inhaling. And you can also do this during yoga or meditation, but the key is to have and take very slow breaths with long exhales, because the vagus nerve releases something known as neurotransmitters, which is acetylcholine. I think I butchered it, but that's what it's called, which actually increases your ability to focus and stay calm. You should try a tempo of 4 seconds of breathing in and breathing out, and I've actually mentioned this in my previous video with box breathing. Next, which is actually something that most people miss out, is your jaw. You have to look after your jaw, especially your jaw alignment. If you experience pain or each time you chew, what actually ends up happening is your fight or flight response actually automatically activates. And there's something known as the trigeminal nerve, which is in the jaw and is responsible for biting and chewing and connects to the vagus nerve, which we spoke about earlier. The sensory zone of this nerve runs from under the jaw at the top of the head and from ear to ear. The trigeminal nerve has 100 times more dense pain fibers than any other nerve in the entire body, and it is linked to something known as the substance P, which is a pain neurotransmitter. It is ultimately the major modulator of brain blood flow to the prefrontal cortex, and the lack of blood flow in the front area of the brain can cause loss of cognitive function. And while you may not suffer any injuries from TMJ, which is like some sort of misalignment with your jaw, or you might experience pain whilst you're chewing or grinding your teeth or something, any dysfunction to that can lead to systematic inflammatory issues in the mind-body. So if you experience pain or are suffering, then you should definitely get it checked out and treat it, as your nervous system is going to get overtaxed, and ultimately it would affect the performance in your life more than you would know. So it's very important that you look after your jaw and that you actually always get it checked, even if you're experiencing pain, even if you feel some form of misalignment whilst you're chewing or something that feels off about your jaw. You should definitely get checked. It can actually expand across through other parts of your body. You can get pain such as your neck, you get stiff neck. You can also get injuries through your spine, and it can actually cause something like scoliosis. Ultimately, the substance P cell membranes, which open up due to inflammatory response in the body because of the TMJ or pain in the jaw, will actually make your cells less efficient, because it's going to be using that energy for this pain, or a lot of these cells are used for this pain when this substance P starts to open up, and it can create hypersensitivity to allergies, asthma, and it just throws off your hormone levels so much. And as I said, it can lead to scoliosis and other movement disorders. So you might think that your movement disorders because you did poor sort of posture at the gym, or your posture is poor, which could be the case. But if you have good posture, if you're sleeping well, if you're dieting, you're exercising, you're doing everything in good form, yet you experience these types of movement issues, and if you're conscious that you have jaw pain, it might actually be related to that. So you should definitely get it checked out. The next part, which I've emphasized a lot on, is your gut health, as 90% of the serotonin production in your body comes from the gut. And there's been so much research that's been done that food has a significant role in actually impacting your gut health. Before, they used to think it was hormones, but it's actually your food that you consume. And your gut is literally directly connected to your brain because it connects through, and it talks, as I mentioned before, through the vagus nerve, which is a communicating bridge. And it affects your brain and obviously your mood. There have been a lot of trends of probiotics such as yogurt, kefir, kimchi especially, which a lot of people might like with their fried chicken, but kimchi is especially really good. Kombucha and other fermented foods, especially like fermented pickles you might see, actually really good for the gut health microbiome because it promotes good bacteria development. Ultimately, you just want to avoid very sugary, very processed foods which create systematic inflammation in the body, and they make you feel lethargic, and you get mood swings, and you just lack motivation, and you have even endocrine disruptors in that as well, and it just negatively affects your hormones. So you just want to minimize these. These can be like, when you look at the back of the ingredients, you don't recognize what it's called. That isn't a sign that it's an artificial sweetener. Red 40 or fructose corn syrup, you just want to minimize these. And I'm not saying you gotta throw out all your junk food. I'm just saying you want to minimize that as much as possible, and you just want to maximize on having food that is actually organic, that is actually real, that is actually nutritious, that is actually beneficial for your body. Now, there's also something that is known as sonic feedback, which is a way of creating targeted stimulation on your ears, as your ears have a direct pathway to the brain. So you can check out something known as binaural beats, which you may have actually heard of, and it can actually help your brain stay a lot sharper, especially whilst you're studying, by listening to this. I think it's also a good idea 1 hour before you sleep. If you want to try something relaxing and you like music, you can try binaural beats like 30 minutes before something. 1 hour before you sleep, you just want to stay in a very relaxed state, and I feel like this can actually help relieve stress and make you feel a lot better, and just your brain will be a lot more switched on during that time, just relaxed. Now, to also prevent vision problems, you want to train also your eye, so you don't have eye movement, because your eyes are also muscles involved in that. You can try some vision exercise where you just look at the distant horizon. So you go outside, look at the distant horizon every few hours, and you switch back and forth looking in what's in front of you. And you keep doing this for every 15 seconds for 3 minutes at least. If you do this, like, you will train your eyes, and you get movement in your eyes, and you don't want it to go dormant, because that's how people start to get impaired vision and start to get visionaries, especially when they start to grow old. So you want to keep that active. Now, by doing these things, you will be able to improve your cognitive ability and sensory function. So if you like this video, then give it a like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next part.